Good morning, Dan and Amy, and Bush 41's funeral mass yesterday. Again, he had been in declining health for some time, and so the day that his passing comes is, of course, going to be unexpected, but it informed the kind of funeral mass that was had, which is a celebration not just of a life well lived, but a life enjoyed. And I think that's why, though there were many poignant moments, it was a lot of fun.
I
and the
learned
speakers
so much.
were fun. The eulogizers were fun.
Yeah, with every eulogy, I mean, there's sentimental value to it. There's historical references. You learn more about the soul of this person as a father, as a child of God, but also the humor. I mean, listen to John Meacham. This is fantastic.
He grabbed the hand of a department store mannequin asking for votes. When he realized his mistake, he said, "Never know, gotta ask." You can hear the voice, can't you? As Dana Carvey said, the key to a Bush 41 impersonation is Mr. Rogers trying to be John Wayne.
And his longtime friend, Senator Alan Simpson, had a couple of good zingers, as Alan Simpson always does, but he delivered an important punchline that President H.W. Bush wasn't always good at delivering, as he mentioned.
Known by all close to it, he loved a good joke. The richer, the better. And he'd throw his head back and give that great laugh, but he never, ever could remember a punchline. And I mean never. So the punchline for George Herbert Walker Bush is this. You would have wanted him on your side. He never lost his sense of humor. Humor is the universal solvent against the abrasive elements of life. That's what humor is. He never hated anyone. He knew what his mother and my mother always knew. Hatred corrodes the container it's carried in. The most decent and honorable person I ever met was my friend George Bush, one of nature's noble men.
I love that definition of humor. It's really well done by Simpson. And Brian Mulroney as well, the former Canadian Prime Minister, who recalled from his own notes at the time a visit to Kennebunkport with the Bushes in 2001 and explained Cavu.
And pointed to a small, simple plaque that had been unobtrusively installed just some days earlier. It read, CAVU. George said, Brian, this stands for Ceiling and Visibility Unlimited. When I was a terrified 18 to 19-year-old pilot in the Pacific, those were the words we hoped to hear before takeoff. It meant perfect flying. And that's the way I feel about our life today. CAVU. Everything is perfect. Barr and I could not have asked for better lives. We are truly happy and truly at peace.
And it's just nice to know, it's a great insight to know that the Bushes were at peace long before they rested in peace. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by our colleague, Mike Gallagher, host of the eponymous Mike Gallagher Show that comes right after us on these airwaves, 9 a.m. every day. Mike, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
Your takeaways from the funeral service and the coverage of it.
You know, all of us who do this for a living, I think, have a moment. I'll bet I can speak for you and both of you guys when we just look back at our lives and say, wow, do we get to do this? Is this something we get to do? We wake up every morning. We wake up Chicagoland. We get to do this for a living. And one of the great moments of my life was getting to know George W. Bush a little bit and watching his eulogy yesterday and how he broke down at the end. He is truly and I do my best to put this in words, such a real guy.
Yep.
I got the benefit of getting to go to the Oval Office a couple of times for meetings with him. He really reached out. The Bush administration reached out to talk radio in a way that no administration has ever done. And they were very conscientious of those of us on the airwaves who talk politics. And not only did I get to meet with President Bush the last week he was in office with a couple of other hosts, he put his cowboy boots up on the table, and we spoke for about an hour and a half just about his 9/11, life in the White House. Talked a lot about his father, and then a year or two after he left office, he invited me to his Dallas office to have lunch. I was at the time broadcasting out of Dallas, and I was the weirdest thing. It was just this call, and he said, "You want to have lunch?" And I went to his office in a beautiful, beautiful office building that he has in Dallas. They served us peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Sure, of course.
And we,
Why not?
I'm naturally. I mean, and that's not that's who he is. That's who the family is. And when my wife was sick, he wrote me a couple of notes, and after she passed away, he wrote a lovely note that I will cherish forever. I mean, that's the way the Bush family rolls. They're just very real, down-to-earth people. You saw that yesterday in the expressions of love for George H.W. Bush, and I just look back, and I'm so honored and blessed, and I don't know George W. Bush very well. I mean, I just had that kind of connection with him, and we've lost touch over the years, obviously. But it just reminded me yesterday of how authentic. That word is used a lot, and it doesn't often mean it's like hero. We throw hero around a lot, but the authentic nature of the Bush family was on full display yesterday, and it was a beautiful thing to watch.
Did he ever discuss his relationship with his father during the time that he was president?
Often. In fact, we spoke a lot about it. He was very specific in how there was a little bit of a wall put up. George H.W. Bush did not want to influence his son in any way, shape, or form, and in fact, rarely, if ever, gave him advice. And W told me he didn't really solicit advice very often. His dad taught him to be his own man, and I think the understanding was, you've got the gig, it's your job. You're the big boy that has to make these decisions, and there really wasn't a lot of intermingling about, well, here's what I would do or here's how I would have done it. They just didn't have that kind of dynamic, Amy.
What about the D.C. press corps' coverage this week, not just yesterday, but leading up to yesterday's National Day of Mourning, and the obsession, of course, with comparing and contrasting Bush 41 to the current occupant?
I mean, I get it. You couldn't find two more different men. We know that. I mean, this is the president we have now. As supportive as I am, he's as I always say, the bull in the china shop. He's a very different kind of individual. But did you see how the New York Times trotted out once again that debunked story about the supermarket scanner?
Yep.
And it was garbage, guys. It wasn't even true. It wasn't true then. Even back then in 1992, the AP pointed out it was wrong. They had to correct it. They had to fact-check the New York Times. But the New York Times brought it out again this week. For those who don't remember, H.W. Bush was smeared in being out of touch because he didn't know how a supermarket scanner worked. Well, the truth was the NCR Corporation unveiled a new type of supermarket scanner that did something really neat. It was like showing the price of an item that was scanned when the barcode was all torn up and shriveled. They could still see. That was what he was amazed at. He wasn't amazed at a supermarket scanner. Listen, again, anybody who knows them, and I have another family friend connection. I've been family friends with Sally Struthers, the Emmy Award-winning actress, for many years. And she is a staple at the Ogunquit Summer Playhouse in Ogunquit, Maine. It's not far from Kennebunkport. And Sally had a great friendship with George H.W. Bush and Barbara Bush because, of course, they would go to all the plays. And Sally is in there every summer. And to hear Sally describe this gentle, wonderful, funny couple, she really was the enforcer, and she really was large and in charge. And he was so deferential and so in love with her. Sally told me that they would sit together because she could see them from the stage, and they'd hold hands through the whole performance.
Hey, Mike, can you tell Sally when you next see her that I loved her with Steve McQueen in The Getaway?
Listen, that was her big break that kind of put her on the scene, and she's I've known her for a lot of years. I did a play with her. I toured in the A.R. Gurney play Love Letters.
Oh.
It's a two-person play, and she and I got to to play that show together, and we did a little tour throughout the country. And she'll love that. She'll appreciate that, because one of the things that Sally sort of bristles at is everybody, of course, knows her as Gloria from All in the Family.
Right.
And she's got a body of work that's a little bit longer than that, but people don't always remember that. So believe me, she'll appreciate your observation very much, Dan.
Did she ever call you meathead?
All the time. No, she called me worse than that. Trust me. She's like my the big sister I never had, who always set me straight. So she's a neat lady, and continuing to work. All in the Family was one of the last shows that did not pay residuals to the ensemble. The only people who got paid in reruns for All in the Family were Norman Lear and Carol O'Connor. That was it. All the other actors, they just got what they got for the series, and that was it. So she still works and works hard, and she does musical theater all around the country, and is a very neat lady and a very dear friend.
Well, but I'm sure Norman Lear, being a socialist, distributed to the rest of the cast.
Well, it's a little bit like Bernie Private Jet Sanders.
Yeah, right.
$300,000 in the guys, are there any bigger hypocrites than socialists? Come on.
No, there aren't. What did you make of President Trump not greeting or saying hello to, or the Clintons not making an effort to greet President Trump when he walked in?
Well, on the one hand, I mean, I see both sides of this debate. The one side is Hillary was classless and bitter, and she wouldn't make eye contact, and she sat there with that stupid fake nod that she gave Melania. On the other hand, do you really blame her? I mean, she's got to be bitter. She's got to hate the guy. He just the other day retweeted something that showed both Bill and Hillary behind bars. So, there's no love lost. I still love the image of all of them sitting in the pew together. Frostiness aside, it was still a unifying moment. It's been a unifying week. The president has been on his best behavior, and in Jeb's words, Trump's been incredibly gracious and kind, gave the Bush family everything they asked for, including sending that huge 747 to pick up the body.
And they let him use the Blair home.
Yeah, everything. And they gave him a tour of the White House and Laura and the grandkids and showed them the Christmas decorations. You get ready, guys, because in January, as you know, when the Democrats take over in the House, it's going to look like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. So we might as well enjoy these nice tender moments while we get them, because they're going to be few and far between beginning in just a few weeks.
I like the chilliness of the presidential pew, and I also, as Iowa Hawk tweeted, it was hard not to think, hey, that's $20 trillion worth of debt represented in that one pew. But it was also back to authentic. It's very real. I mean, why pretend that you like each other when, frankly, none of them can stand each other?
I couldn't wait for the service to start because I was feeling uncomfortable thousands of miles away.
Do you think Trump should have tried to break the ice by bringing everybody a MAGA hat?
That would have been nice. He should have said that, or he could have done a lot of things. Trust me. There's a lot of avenues he could have taken that he didn't.
Yes.
And I'm kind of relieved. It's been a nice, calm, peaceful, warm week to say a fitting tribute to George H.W. Bush. Today we'll have some of the ceremony from the church in Houston, the final memorial service before he's laid to rest at the Presidential Library in College Station, Texas. So and we'll be all over that today. We've got a busy day as the nation says goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, James Baker's going to speak, George P., and Jeb is slated to deliver a eulogy. So I'm going to watch that one just like I watched yesterday's.
All right.
Yes. All right, guys.
He is Mike Gallagher.
Great being with you.
9 a.m. Mike Gallagher Show. Mike, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Bet.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.